Hello everyone, this is Otsukimi and this is the request video series. I'm going to do things a little bit different today. I'm not going to do multiple videos as I usually do. I usually try to do them in little mini, like 10-minute videos and kind of go on. Today I'm going to do one big video for two reasons. One, I didn't get to do the Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana mini market update last night. So I'm going to do that today as well and combine them together because I know this is going to be more than 10 minutes anyway. So I'm just going to make this all one video. Secondly, I'm the situation that I'm in. I'm not in a bad situation or anything per se, but it makes it more convenient for me just to record this in one go and then edit it afterwards. A lot of times, my mini videos for requests are not edited, and so I'm gonna edit out the things that just me sneezing or whatever, right? Like I try to be careful with that, but sometimes that slips in a cough or two, whatever. So I will edit those out, hopefully, to try to get the just to get this video more streamlined. So that's kind of the thing. Also, we don't have really a lot of requests anyway, so the video is probably going to be shorter. I think I only got one on Twitter. Like I don't know. Almost at 10,000 followers. I hope somebody can help me go up to 10,000 for the end of this bull run. But let's go ahead and get started. We'll start with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana first. All right, so Bitcoin is up first, and honestly, I kind of feel bad because I was too busy to do an update yesterday, and it was like the best day to do an update, and so that really sucks because honestly, if I didn't get a chance to look at the charts really at all for the rest of the day, and I had the perfect opportunity to buy, and so I mean, life happens. At the same time, I personally missed some things that I did not get to buy in, so. It is what it is. That's one reason why I'm also heavily exposed from, you know, basically this whole time. So I don't really miss that much. Like, yes, I do like render 28%. Yeah, that sucks. Like whiff, I think is up like 30. Yeah, that sucks too. But it sucks for me because I missed out, right? And so I guess it's cope, whatever you want to call it. But we, it is what it is. You're not going to catch every move. But let's go ahead and analyze basically what's happened the past 24 hours. We had pretty much had your touch for all-time high. That was for some exchanges, this breached the all-time high. For some, like Binance, it did not. Um, I kind of cross-referenced as much as I could, and I also looked at the index. And from all what I've said, from what I've seen, we have crossed all-time high. Now we haven't held all-time high, and honestly, I don't really care one way or the other. A lot of people are bragging back and forth, collecting their clout points, and that's all good and well. I do that too, so I understand. Um, at the same time, I mentioned a couple days ago, this is really arbitrary, right? So we, like we started right here, right? And so we basically went up to percent and a half, and we're like celebrating, and then we dropped down 13%. And so that's what I'm saying is like, how much money did you make? Like if you had Bitcoin exposure the day before the all-time high break, how much money did you make by the time we went to break to the all-time high versus how much did you lose going down low and then closing at about 6 or 7%? See what I'm saying? And so that is why I said that the other day, is because we can celebrate that all day long. I don't care. And here's the thing, I'm going to celebrate the all-time high regardless of if I'm exposed or not. I have been exposed. In fact, I sold my very first Bitcoin for the past year and a half, and I put it into Ethereum yesterday. That's my personal thing. That's not part of premium or any trading or anything like that. And I did that because I do think Ethereum is going to take over for strength. We'll get into that here in a second. So now that brings us to the current candle that we're currently up pretty decent. We're up about 5% on Bitcoin. We're up across the board, and so a lot of these things, it seems like we're kind of divided into like some three, mainly two camps, but there's three. Like there's the really low IQ thing, and then there's of course the mid curve, and then like the high intelligent curve. And the thing is, the more intelligent you try to analyze all this, the more that you start to be a little more mid curve. It is mid curve currently to just think too complicated about this structure. Okay, for the most part, the most profitable idea is just too long. Okay, and just to be really dumb about this and just to buy in. Okay, but also the dumbest one is also to do the same thing. Now it depends as far as timing goes, things like that. Um, Generally speaking, when you get a dip, like we did yesterday, that's when you want to buy in. I mean, it pretty much gets as simple as that. Now, again, I did make the mistake. I did buy in a few things. I bought in on Ethereum and I bought in on Atom and a few other things. And we've been talking about certain things in premium that I can't really discuss. But overall, and those are pumping today. But overall, like I didn't get to be as exposed as I wanted to be. And I think you can always say that as well. But as far as this goes, do I think this rally is going to continue? Kind of. I think the general idea for me is I think Bitcoin is going to be a little more exhaustive now compared to the rest of the market. And I basically I think the majority of the move for Bitcoin is already done. I'm going to say that right now. I think the majority is already done. And what I mean by that is, we may not necessarily be able to go, we could go up to 200,000. You guys know in Discord that my targets are roughly 80,000 to 110,000, but it's not even so much about the multiple, it's about the potential. Okay, so like Ethereum has more profit potentiality to go to 10,000 than Bitcoin does to go to 100,000, let's say. And same with Solana, right? Same with WIF token or Popcat or all these other meme coins, right? And so and all these other DeFi coins like GRT is on fire, and so relatively well, it's up 12% today, but relatively speaking, I mean, we discussed this in my Discord group right around this area right here, and we still have a long ways to go. And I do think GRT will go up pretty significantly, and so I'm not saying it'll go up all the way up to $3, but if it does, that's a 10x that's just staring in your face right now that nobody's paying attention to, and I really just don't understand it because it's right there, the potential's there. Um, why wouldn't it go up back to all-time high? I'm not saying it will, but why shouldn't it? Versus all the other meme tokens, which are completely worthless, and that's part of their utility. Honestly, is like we're just trading them because it's fun, and so that is the utility, just because it's fun, and so there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, like, why should a project that like GRT that's been a really good project with a really good utility, if they don't succeed here, what does that say about the state of the market? Are we just trading coins and just, and again, we can do that. No, nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying, like, the potential here is an easy 5 to 10x. All right, let's look back on Bitcoin and see what we got. So this was the daily. So another thing is we're still within this zone. I'll look at the 4 hour, what this zone really means. But overall, one thing I want to say, we do have that divergence. It has seemed to have played out. We do have a hidden bull div here, so that makes me think that the divergence has played out, and so that's significant because now I think that for Bitcoin, we're going into a reaccumulation slash order block phase. And again, I'll explain what that means here in just a second. Um, Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. We still have to be above this zone. I would prefer that we close above the high zone. And again, doesn't have to with me. It's arbitrary to me, but I'm taking this zone by zone. But things are still looking very bullish overall. No reason to really just you know say that we're done as far as this is all concerned. I did post a pretty bearish tweet a couple days ago that we would get that drop, and that's the drop that we got yesterday. Okay, a lot of the coins have dropped 20%, 30%, even more, and I think that's sufficient. I do think that it is sufficient. Now, that doesn't mean that we'll continue to go down or up, but I'm just saying as far as the relevance to that tweet, I think that relevance is complete, at least in the structure that I anticipated it to be. Now, let's go ahead and go to the 4 hour and to see what I'm looking at. Actually, I'm going to go to the 1 hour first to get, I'm going to do the build up for this first, I guess. So this was your reaccumulation phase from late February, beginning of March. Had that push up, had that double top divergence. That's kind of what I'm looking for. And the thing is like, all right, I know people make fun of me for divergences. I know that they do. And that's okay because I missed this big drop, okay? And I reduced my exposure because of that, and then we dropped. A lot of you guys have lost a lot of money right now because of this. and trying to be overexposed. Like the main reason we got this flush was because of liquidations, and the main reason we got those liquidations is because people were over leveraged. Why would you care to? Why would you want to be over leveraged at all times? It makes no sense to me. Do you think that we're just going to teleport from 69,000 to 100,000 and you're going to be insta rich? No, it's not. It's probably not ever going to happen. And once you get to kind of price discoveries like this, you get more trickery, right? And so that's the thing that I'm looking out for. And so we got the drop down, and we pretty much got like a Dalai Lama thing here. So it looks like we're probably going to continue to go up. I think. But as far as this goes, we can go back to the 4 hour now and say, all right, we had this top structure, we have this bottom structure. Where are we at here? Now I can look at all of this as one big block. And this is how I want to view this. This is not the best view, I understand. But when you start to look at the the ranges that we get at to the all-time high and other, bullish outcomes for the market, it's easier to do this because you can, because like I said before, and I've seen other people say this too, like it's the 20 IQ trades that are going to make you the most money. So what you could do, you could wait for a break of here again, put your stop loss underneath here, target, let's say 75. What, your take profit, or let's just do 76. Take profit is whatever you decide to do, but this is what you do. You would do a range break and you would increase your risk here depending on whatever your exposure is. Because here's the thing, you're not going to get many opportunities to get huge pullbacks anymore. And technically, we're still under lower levels. For example, like Bitcoin, we're still under the low from yesterday or under the high from yesterday. That's still, just because we pump 5% doesn't mean you don't have an opportunity here, right? And so let's go to Dogecoin. Like Dogecoin pumped 4%, but look at it compared to what it was before, right? And so the only one that's really significant is Ethereum. And so even like FTM that's gone up 9% today, it's still lower than what it has been. So there's still opportune time to get in. And see, that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of these have pumped. Let's look at WIF token. Okay, WIF token's new high. WIF is just crazy. So, but even then, you still got the divergence at the highs. I'm not saying you can't go up or down, nothing like that. I'm just saying be cautious. So the thing is like when we get to these highs, when we get these divergences at the highs, I'm not telling you to stop. And I think there's a misrepresentation there. Um, I'm I don't really tell anybody to take profits at these levels. Although I kind of have mentioned it in the past. It's not something that you have to do. It's something that basically identify as an area of concern. That's where I come up with this. When you get a divergence at the highs, that is the most concerning type of divergences. And so I'm not saying that you can't go up higher. Of course not. I'm not saying that you can't keep your position. Of course you can. What I am saying is your risk to reward becomes different. It becomes much more risky to get the same amount of reward. Okay. Now that reward still might be very good and that risk may still be very small. It depends on your tolerance. Okay. And I think that begs some clarification. The thing is, I wouldn't have to clarify that, but we are in a more parabolic run and people are getting more, dumb. Um, it's just like, well, it is what it is, right? But I am saying this is kind of how that plays out with the divergences. So going back to Bitcoin, kind of round out the Bitcoin section because I took way too long. This is kind of what I would do. Play the range breakout, play the Darvis play. That's kind of what I'm looking at with that. So let's go ahead and go to Ethereum. All right, let's go to Ethereum. We're going to start at the daily. So first things first, I mentioned that we had a push up above this. We had that drop down that went below. We actually closed above, so that's a very good sign. And now we are pushing above yet again. We're up about almost 7%. It was at one point today. So I mentioned on the weekly time frame for observations that we need to hold this. I think there's a good chance that we'll do this now that this is Wednesday. Unless we get a huge drop down. I think long term we're looking at, a continuation. So regardless of how the next, week or two plays out, I think things might be changing. So I was probably wrong in my thesis. At least right now, we'll see how this goes. Things can always change, and just because, I may not be wrong. I just might be early, but it doesn't matter one way or the other. You need to kind of flip back and forth to see what you see. And that's just kind of how it is. So going on to the daily, we have this push up above. Um, no real. Actually, there's a small divergence right here. You guys know my rant about divergences just a while ago, and so you can see how that plays out. So, I mean, if every divergence, everything was so easy, then it would be everybody would be doing it, I guess, right? So, it is what it is. So up above, we pretty much have nothing. We have a small, pit stop, maybe like 4,000. I think we'll get that pretty soon. I think we attempted the not 3,900. But we'll see where that goes. I do think I'm not going to cover this, but I do think Ethereum versus BTC. I think Ethereum is going to have a lot more strength here in the next 3 to 6 months. I've already had people challenging me on this too. They don't see it, blah 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 blah, and I don't have time to get into it in this video. And I did cover this in observations, however. So if you haven't seen that video, go ahead and watch it. It's an hour long, but that section is not an hour long. It's maybe like 5 minutes. So it explains the strength, where we're at, weekly time frame perspective, things like that. So but what I mentioned on Ethereum, let's go ahead and go to the 4 hour. We kind of had this kind of push up. Now these structures I don't really like at all because most of the time these go down. Okay, these are not necessarily Dalai Lama moves. They can be, and some of these are on these coins. But when you get something like this, basically the thing is, you had a big, basically a whipsaw effect on the RSI for one. Two, this confuses the A ring just a little bit, and so this does tend to snap back. I'm not saying that it will, but I still am cautious here. Okay, am I the fool that missed the move? Maybe. I'm open to that. I'm exposed either way, whether I'm right or I'm wrong. It doesn't really matter to me. But this is just what I see, um, where we kind of stand with that. But one thing we do need to know is that, I mean, this still has a chance to come higher. It did reclaim the 50. So the thing is like a lot of people now want you to be one or the other. They want you to be hyper bullish or hyper bearish. And I've already in the past week have gotten a lot of criticism, like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And I think for the most part, you guys just need to stop. Like, it's not that complicated. You're making things complicated for me. I'm telling you in a very strict and simple way what these coins are doing. Okay, and that's about the basics for that. Okay, I'm going to be at the point where I'm going to start ignoring some of these because it doesn't help you, doesn't help me. So that's kind of what I see with that. So with Ethereum, we did have the drop down. We broke down below the range. We broke above of. Once we broke above the range, now we are cleared to go. This was a deviation, and then this was a deviation. So we had double deviation. So that means this was your long signal. You could have longed this if you wanted to. Maybe your stop loss if you want to do something loose right there. You could do like so. You'd be about maybe one fourth or maybe one right now at current price action. So that's kind of what that looks like with that. In addition to that, you also kind of had this structure right here. When you have an order block structure, again, I always pushed at the mid. We actually broke below the mid. It happens, but we got the recovery, and it's good to go. Now, as far as parabolic runs, we can look at this line chart, and then we can see that we actually we probably just barely. I don't know if this is a break in my opinion. If it does, it'll break further, and then we can operate on that level, I think. But as far as this goes, I don't know if we've actually broken this or not. That's pretty close. Um, I would be leaning to say that we have, honestly. Let's see if a different time frame could actually help us out here. This one looks definitely broken. Let's look at the 1 hour. Let's see here. Yeah, I would say this is broken. So we'll see. Now the thing too is, let's go back to the candle charts. So now if this is broken, this actually also closed below. So now we have a problem where this deviated to the highs again. And so this is where it gets complicated, right? This is where if you think about this too much, you're going to get wrecked on either side. And that's why you focus on things like moving averages or trends, things like that, or just buying when you get a dip. Those things are all good strategies right now. So, but as far as this level goes, I mean, we did go above this structure here. And so you could also hold with that structure as well. The thing is, I know that I'm working with different people here. I know some people that have gotten in that have bought spot across the market since October and have done good. You've done really good, actually. Probably better than me, who's been holding for a year and a half because I did so conservatively. I didn't do it aggressively. I did it with the buy and forget mentality. And so I missed a lot of parabolic positions, like WIF token, especially. I missed the entirety of WIF token. I don't think I've bought a single token, honestly. And it is what it is. It happens. Guess what? You are not going to get everything. You won't. Okay? It's just how it works. Um, that being said, I also got some people that will try to get life-changing money every single day. They're going to try to get in with the hope that they have a 1% stop loss and they try to get rich off of a big move. And those are the same people that don't have risk management. They don't have good capital. They don't have a good structure to allocate their funds. They are not um, emotionally stable as far as trading is concerned. I said that wrong. I don't mean emotionally stable necessarily. They just they don't have the fortitude to go through what we did yesterday. Okay, and again, um, I missed it myself because Tuesdays are a pretty busy day for me usually. So driving my wife to the doctor and stuff, but it happens. Okay, it happens to everybody. The thing is, you need to stay in the game. What can you look at to stay in the game? I got videos on that, trading bullish price action and things like that. So anyway, this is kind of what I see on Ethereum. I think it looks okay for now. We could deviate below, but again, you want to look at this as a range similar to Bitcoin, like so. So if that's the case, then we get this retest. If it comes back down below, then you can cancel your long, what have you, right? And so as far as I'm concerned, and I've said this before, as far as I'm concerned, you should have multiple portfolios. I always have a minimum of 3. I've got like 5 right now. And one of them is like small caps, airdrops. The other one's like something else. Um, but you should have 3 main ones, a minimum of 2. But one should be your long-term spot portfolio. Your second one should be your swing trade portfolio. And the third one should be your scalp portfolio. Or if you don't scalp like me, you could have more of a degen portfolio. That's what I call it. That's what I named my wallet. And so the high time frame spot is for long-term plays that you just can hold. You never, never, never use leverage on the long-term spot portfolio. You hold it. You find a time frame to buy it on. Doesn't have to be high time frame per se, but for me, it's a minimum of 1 day charts, and you hold it. I can tell you, I've maybe made 20 trades on that in the past year and a half. Okay, and so that's one reason why I'm in that position that I'm in. I bought very early. Again, I didn't buy as aggressively as some of you all, and that's where that plays into it, right? You got the second portfolio, which is your swing trade portfolio. This is the one where you can use leverage. It should not necessarily be higher than your high time frame spot portfolio. Don't focus on the numbers here, okay? And that's the thing. Like I get questions like, well, how much should I have? How much leverage should I use? This, that, and that. You're asking me the wrong questions. Okay, just get you a portfolio for all 3, and you start there. Okay, you put money in 1, you put money in 2, you put money in 3. And that's it. For the second portfolio, you can use leverage if you want to. I'm not going to tell you to do so. I'm not going to tell you what leverage to use. I'm not going to tell you how to use it. Okay? The thing is, people will trade leverage differently. I have used leverage for over 5 years now, and even I don't feel comfortable sometimes using leverage. So I use my leverage differently. I am much, 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 much less degenerate than a lot of other people with leverage. I almost never use leverage over 10x. I know a lot of people on the regular use 50 to 100x. If that works for you, if you've made money on that, that is great. I'm not discouraging that. I'm not even saying that that's wrong. Okay, but you need to focus on what is available to you, not just as far as your tools, but as far as your success. Because a lot of people will use leverage as a tool to try to trade money that they don't have. Okay? And so that's the thing. It You should never use leverage to go beyond what you have. For example, if you have $100,000 portfolio, which I say this because it's easy math for people under 100 or over 100. If you have $100,000 portfolio and you want to make a spot, if you want to make a swing leverage portfolio, put $10,000 into it. Okay? And why 10? Why so low? Because you can 10x that. So the leverage with the 10x equals the 100,000. Whatever you, it could be 50,000 you put in there, it could be 99,000, it could be $1. Whatever that is, take your portfolio amount, times it by the max leverage you intend to use, and it should never exceed that 100,000. It should never exceed that 100,000. Okay? The only way that it could is if you intend to use more risk. Okay? But not to use more leverage for the sake of it. Like, because what people do is like, oh, I see this, I think Ethereum's going to go long, so I'm going to, instead of 2x in this, I'm going to 10x this, I'm going to 50x this, because and they come up with the basis is I know that this is long and I believe that I am right. But they don't think about the order books, they don't think about the wicks, they don't think about the liquidations, they don't think about that in most exchanges they liquidate you within 80 to 90% of your stop. A lot of you guys don't even have like hard stop losses anyway. And so that's the thing, a lot of you wing it with the anticipation that you're just going to leverage that, okay? Look, if you make money, it's great. You can make more money now being stupid than you ever have from now to the top. Okay, so there's some grace in there with that, right? And so what I could be telling you could be could be maybe not appropriate for this type of the cycle. But I'm just saying exercise risk management. Just exercise your risk management. So anyway, and then you got your third portfolio, which is more your, for me, it's basically whatever you decide it to be, but I generally tell people like it's for your small caps, it's for your more higher risk trades that you genuinely believe can go to zero, because like the chances of Ethereum going to zero are basically zero, where like versus like WIF token could go to zero. I think WIF could easily go to zero just as much it could go to $5. I really do. So that doesn't seem like a reality, and I might get people unfollowing me because of that. But let's see how that looks like 2 years from now. See what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter to me. Anyway, I spent too much time on that. Let's go to Solana. All right, Solana. So, yesterday we again had that big breakdown. This was a position that I looked at. Depending on your position, you would have got stopped out. Now, that being said, we are above this zone. And so this is also one reason why I tell my followers I don't do limit orders. I do spot order, like I do market orders. So I wouldn't have got stopped out here, although you may have. And so that's the situation. This is where this plays really critically, right? Because you're going to get these swings. Like, I had somebody say like they were really concerned about one of the coins yesterday, but I wasn't concerned at all. So it's one thing. It's because of these wicks, right? It's because some of these wicks um, will really try to shake people out, and it sucks. Believe me, even in the moment, it's just like, geez, is this? is everything really going to zero? But you just got to stick it through because most time it wicks just like this. So we actually got this good retest. This is pretty good actually. I think Solana's kind of going underneath the radar right now. And if you ask me, I think DeFi is taking over, and I think we're already seeing that with GRT and Near and Render and things like that and Uniswap. Like I don't in 1 inch, like people are not really, you know, looking into that too much just yet, and I think that's very interesting. People are focusing on meme tokens, but meme tokens really aren't doing that good significantly today. I mean, WIF token's doing pretty good. Pepe's pretty decent. Um, where are we at here? Where's Bonk? I mean, Bonk is like barely green relative to its, you know, performance of the past couple of weeks, right? So that's what I'm saying. Even Nos is doing really good. So anyway, with this, you got the retest is looking pretty good. I think this is still good for a long. I don't think, honestly, I think that's pretty easy right now. I am a little bit concerned about this. I mean, if you wanted to play this as a 4 hour structure, just play the break again. That's all it is. That it gets this simple, right? When you get coins like this, you can play the breaks like so. Works out pretty well. So anyway, that's pretty much it for Solana. I'm not going to cover it too much because that retest on the daily is looking pretty good. But I think I'm going to actually stop the video, do another video for requests, but I might put them all in one video. So if there's a change of edit, that's probably why. So anyway, let's go ahead and go to the request videos. Otsukimi here. Who else would it be? This is the request section for the request videos. I just did Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. It took a little longer than I did, like 30 minutes. So I apologize for that, but I did need to cover it. So we're gonna get into this. I think we have like 16 coins, so we got pretty significant coins here. So let's go ahead and go first. First one is going to be Atom, and so I think I'll just cover this. What's the best chart for this? We'll do right here. So one thing that I like about Atom is that you got a lot of coins that have pumped, right? Especially Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana, even though it's been lagging the past couple, really the past month. Um, there are coins like Atom that haven't really pumped at all in retrospect to what it should do. Now, we can interpret this however we want to, right? And the theories go wild, and this is where you become in danger to making monies because you start theorizing way too much, right? Versus just riding the waves of the market. Now, this pertains to Atom because Atom hasn't moved much, and a lot of people will say, all right, Atom hasn't moved much, maybe it's going to move next time. We don't know that for sure. But what I do know is we are getting a good build up here. And so one thing that I do like is we can take this structure like so, and this is kind of like your whole structure with this. You had your previous break above, had your break above, down below, retest, divergence here. This is probably where you should have got in long term, but even then it's only like 150% from where it is now, so it's not terrible compared to other coins. We do have a good build up here. Now, let's go ahead and kind of work out some of this stuff right here. You kind of have a fib position right here. This held relatively right around the mid, depending on where you wanted to place this. And now we broke above. So this is looking pretty good. We got this mid-level break. And so I like this. I think this is worth a long right now. I think even more so if we can cross the 15, I think people will start to get in there at that level. I think 15 is more of a more critical level because horizontals are going to be way more important SR levels are going to be more important than trend lines, I should say, is what I meant to say. So we could long above this structure, and I think that's good. But I also think the current price point isn't really bad either, because you have this drop down break, and so this is what you're looking at. If we can hold this for the rest of the week, I think Atom looks amazing. You got this bullish cross on the weekly as well. Break above the RSI for a couple, about a month now. Atom looks very good. And I don't know why a lot of people are not talking about Atom. I think Atom is probably the best looking main chart that has not pumped yet. Okay, there are other charts that look really good, but have already pumped just a little bit. And FTM is one of those. That's the one that's on my mind. So that being said, this is looking good for me. I think if you wanted to long this, you could. And if you did, I'm looking at like this area for basically like maybe your first take profit. and then this one for maybe your second. The thing is like people, you never know until it's too late, right? So people are going to criticize me for saying, well, Otsu, why are you telling me to take profit if it's going to go all time high? I'm just going to keep it long everything. And I got the other people saying, like, if I just say, hey, just long it and wing it, and then it's like, well, why didn't you tell me, Otsu, to take profits, blah, 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 blah. You can't win. So that's why I'm kind of keeping this a little more vague, because I want you to interpret that for yourself. This is something where I've been here for almost 8 years. I've been through multiple cycles of telling people what they need to do, need to do, need to do, and they don't do it, they don't do it, they don't do it. So, if you've been with me for longer than 6 months, you should have gained some sort of idea of how to manage these trades for yourself. And so, again, I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm really not. But I can't hold your hand forever. Okay. And I don't want to, and I shouldn't. You should be able to grow on your own. Okay. So, I gave both ideas with this. Yes, it could go to all time high. Will it go from here? I don't know. If it does, is this the best current price to hold? Yeah, absolutely. I think this is absolutely the best. Like, no more now than ever is probably the best time to hold. Um, but that's always been the case. It's the same like with Bitcoin, for example. Like, what if you bought at the top in 2017 at 20,000? Well, you're up 3x from now. So what? See what I'm saying? Like, Bitcoin has proven like it does reward people that always hold. Okay. Now that doesn't apply to all coins, of course, but people that bought last year at even at 69,000, they're only down like 2%. So it's like, what are you trying to tell me? So anyway, adjust on your strategy and your personal walk. You know, some of you guys are married, some of you guys are not. Some of you guys have more responsibility, some of you guys have more capital, some of you guys have less capital. It all depends on your tolerance, your management. And that's why I actually think risk management is way more important than even looking at charts. And that's why my academy is going to be coming up pretty soon. So pay attention to that. So anyway, that's Adam. I think it looks pretty good. I don't really want to cover the lower time frames. If you want to cover this structure here, we got a good reaction here at that weekly trade. I guess we could cover this, but that's a good reaction there. You also have this structure like so. We stayed above this basically. We broke below it, but now we're broken above. If you wanted to wait to break above, you could certainly long this from here. Looking pretty good. It's up 5, almost 6% for the day, so it's gaining some ground as well. So anyway, I think Adam looks very good. Now let's go ahead and go to 1 inch. That's the next one. And that's a good pick actually. I haven't covered 1 inch very often. Um, Here is your weekly structure that I'm looking at. And so you have this, touchdown reclaim situation. You had this retest. So now this is looking pretty good for expansion. Now, 1 inch is pretty much a lagger compared to Uniswap, and that doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, but you can also tell that Uniswap is higher right now. But I wouldn't forget 1 inch either. And actually, I just saw a tweet like, well, if there's a like narrative coins like AI coins, well, like if FET is the leader, why should I focus on another non-leading lagging asset class? And like, who cares? I think there's a certain point where you're just thinking about that too much, and you just need to long something because it's like with this, like if I like who cares if I could have made 19 when I made 12? See what I'm saying? Like you're going to make yourself crazy by thinking that you don't always get the best of the best of the best. Okay? You just you got to get over it. You have to, okay? Cuz you got to think of it as like trading and losing trades. Like you're always going to lose a trade. Well, you're always not going to get the highest performing one either. Sometimes you will, but I can tell you I've had a pretty good streak. Um, in patches throughout my 8 years where I'd like, uh, you know, um, where I would get like for a month straight, like I'm just on fire, like I cannot be stopped, and then I get stopped, and then I'm pissed. Okay, so I've been there. It doesn't help that you always get a hot streak because then you feel like you can never lose. Then when you do lose, you double up, you get revengeful, you have a very critical day, you start yelling at people, or it just ruins your week. Okay, and you just need to be content on what you get, whether that's a win, whether it's a loss, or whatever that may be. Right? So anyway, enough of that. I like 1 inch here. Now again, this is the weekly time frame. But this has just broken out of its weekly structure. If it can hold this, why would I want a 253% stop? I don't get this. I really hate trading views sometimes. So let's do the whole, fib tool that you guys may know if you've been in my Discord for a while. So that's kind of how that runs. I put my mid below that zone, and just like that. And so I could put my take profit right here. I can also have maybe a take profit area on the way right here, but probably more so here now that I see this consolidation structure. So this would kind of be why you probably take partials, and this is where you probably take your full. I think that looks good. I think this looks very solid. I think I'm going to circle that. So yeah, Winninch looks very good here, honestly, very good. Now let's go to sorry, I'm just looking at these charts here. Markets are looking pretty good. I thought that we would get a bounce, but I'm honestly pretty impressed so far. We'll see if this continues through the rest of the week. So let's go ahead and go to SFUND. That's the next one. Not sure I've heard of this. Yeah, I have. This is an old coin. Okay, so I'm just gonna go by the last 2 years, I guess, or maybe I should. Maybe I shouldn't. I don't know if CD Fund is. This looks like it's the rest of it. So we'll kind of go. We'll go with this one. So if this is wrong, whoever mentioned it, let me know, and I can do another video for this. So overall, good thing I see here. You got this marker right here. That's your consolidation. You got your cup and handle. This is looking really good as far as weekly structures. Very, very good. I would probably just long. I would probably wait for a break along that. Target somewhere in between the mid. I think the stop loss looks good here, honestly. Target the highs. Your first, take profit could be about 858. I think that looks really good. Um, I think that's pretty. Honestly, that looks pretty clear. Honestly, the thing is, we probably, because of this formation on the A ring, looks like we're gonna have a bearish cross. That's not a bad thing per se because this is super low. Probably going to result into a bullish consolidation, and then it's going to result into a bullish breakout. Based off my experience, that tends to be the case. So I think a break above the 450 range is probably where I would long on the weekly. On the daily, you kind of have the same thing playing out. Here's your liquidity zone. Kind of breach. I would have said you could have longed this, but it actually closed below. So I would wait for that break above. Pretty self-explanatory, I think, compared to the weekly. But you could just do it on a daily time frame. So let's go to the next one. We're gonna look at APT. I'm gonna see if I can get a bigger one here. Well, either one's pretty basic. So all right. So APT. One thing. Let's see here. So what can we look at for a structure like this? This is pretty crazy. So what we could do is look at this from a consolidation structure. Here's your consolidation area. Had a little bit of trouble here. Here's your another consolidation breakout. So that's your context of what you got. In addition to that, you also have another one right here. And so you could hold this. I mean, this is the daily. Okay, that's hold on. That might make more sense. So let's go ahead and go to the 2-day. That's why I'm kind of getting a little bit confused. So let's map this out again. Here's your consolidation marker. And so that works out like so. Had the deviation break out, looking good. Here's your other consolidation structure. I would map it out like so because this looks like it's deviated from the rest of the line. And so that's kind of how I would look at it. So insides are not necessarily deviations. You could have put it like this, but it makes more sense here because of the double top. So if that is the case, we have not broke out yet. Now this is the 2-day chart. Now again, long the break of that. I don't know why TradingView wants to do that to me. They hate me, I think. They follow me on Twitter, but like I'm not sure why. I did used to talk to them for like a year or two behind the scenes. So anyway, here's what I would look at: 16% stop loss, 2.8 R at 47%. Looking good. Not as like high rolling compared to other charts, but that doesn't have to be the case. So anyway, I think that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and go to link. And I think link is right here actually. All right, so we'll get rid of all that. Let's look at the weekly structure. All right, so you have this consolidation marker here, looking pretty solid. Had the retest above this. I think automatically this looks like a good long and this is kind of what I'm saying about the DeFi structure. I think DeFi is kind of getting more of a push right now versus other coins. So I think that's significant. Um, with Chainlink, I think a conservative target would be right here at this line, 72%, 2.67. Let's go ahead and go to the next one. All right, next up is SNX. This is another one that we talked about. And so I already got the markers cleared out for this one, honestly. So we have the levels here that I'm looking at. We have this retest structure here and also here. So you kind of have this range. You want to view these as a range breakout. And this is what I say. Like, there's a lot of attention right now on Ethereum and Render and GRT, and it should be, right? Those things should be. But you also have other coins like this that have not pumped yet, that might eventually. And so these are really, this is a great example of a coin that has your textbook consolidation. This is like a pre-Solana type consolidation that should work pretty good. Now I don't know how SNX will perform this year versus other ones. If this was AAVE or Comp, I would tell you, all right, this is going to all-time high, because I believe both of those will. Will SNX do that? I'm not so sure. But I do like the chances here. Now, what we could look at is maybe a mid structure. And so I'm going to just go ahead and mark this one out, and then put your long, where's it at here? Changing everything all the time. Maybe wait for a break of this. Go like so. Target here. Very conservative 2x with 5R. I think that's pretty good for most people. It could go higher. I'm not sure. Again, the idea is that a lot of people, like, things are going on fire right now. Like WIF has done 1,000%, right, or higher this year, and it's only March. It's only early March, so people will think that I'm crazy for being this conservative, and I'm not saying that you should stop here. Do whatever you want with this, right? But what I am not going to tell you is like, oh, it's going to go to $100, and it's just like, all right, O2 was wrong, and I lost money because I was trying to hold all the way up here and didn't get it. That's not what I'm going to tell you, right? So if you're looking for that, you're in the wrong area. Like somebody mentioned about like the micro caps, like the Joe Bowden and stuff like that. Like, I'm not going to entertain those. Okay, can you make money? Absolutely, right? But that's just not for me to. That's not something that I want to talk to you about. Okay, I may trade those myself, but I know what's going to happen. I know if I get involved in that, people are going to make money for like a couple months, and then after that, everything's going to go down, and you're going to blame me for losing money over something that was really dumb, honestly, because you're gambling, right? So anyway, the thing is like you can gamble right now and make a lot of money. You can, okay. I'm not denying that, but the thing is, I'm not going to entertain that for you, because that's going to put you into a lot of trouble, and then you're going to blame me for your mistake. So anyway, next up is going to be ICP. All right, this one's pretty simple as well. We had this breakout before, and I don't know what this was about. Sometimes I do things, I don't know what they are. We do have a divergence here, but we also have a range breakout on this structure, so I kind of like this, actually. This is one where I think we could look at on the daily. I think we actually had this mapped out. So if you have a break of this, I think we covered this in request before. We have this breakout. If this holds on the daily, you could hold below the mid, target the structure that I mentioned before. I think I did mention this before. So 89%, 4R. I think that looks pretty good. Actually, I think that looks very good. Let's go ahead and go to AAVE. Now, AAVE is one that's already pumped. So let's go ahead and look at what we got. Go to the weekly. I think I mapped this out already as well. This one had the weekly breakout as well. Let me go to a different chart actually. Sometimes I just like a clean chart. So anyway, so we'll go on to this. You have your range structure. So you could view it like you saw at the other one where we had this range breakout and this is looking good. If this is the case, I think you could easily, I think that stop is pretty wide, but I think you could massively increase your risk. And then again, this is a coin where I think will match its all-time high. I don't think that that's a big deal. That's a 3x. It's not a big deal. The thing too is I post this as a chart, as a trade, and a lot of you guys are going to interpret this as a leverage trade. And I never imply a leverage trade. Never. Even if the stop loss is like 1%, I don't imply that. That's on you. Okay? And I say that to say, first of all, you should know better because this is a weekly time frame, and most leverage trades on on alts like Aave you cannot hold for this long. I think you may be able to, but I think most of you also know what you're. I think most of you know what you're doing. You guys should be smart enough. If you're trading financial markets, you should be smart enough to know these basic things, in my opinion. Now, if you don't, I'm happy to share with you. No problem, right? Um, at the same time, know what you're getting into with this. So I think, and I say all that to say, I don't know if this position on this chart is really necessary. I think it might just be best to buy a bunch of spot Aave and just let it ride, because the 5X is pretty good in that regard, honestly. So anyway, that's just kind of what I see on Aave. I like that a lot. I actually think that's one of my favorite on the list. So let's go ahead and go to PYR. I don't think I've covered. I think I covered this once. So again, very similar thing to Aave. I'm gonna map this out like so. Very good structure right here. So how I could work this is I could just play this break here, and that looks pretty good. And maybe target the mid. The thing is, sometimes it does drop below here, and then I mean, you might make fun of me for saying a 28% stop loss is too wide, but we just had a 22% drop across the board yesterday. So just saying. And so this is kind of what I'm looking at. 2x 3.5R looking pretty solid. I think I like this. I might actually add on the list. So next is going to be, I think that's CRC. Can't read my own handwriting. I don't know what I put there. Or is it LRC? I'll just cover LRC. I think that's correct. So LRC, this is looking pretty good here. You got your kind of your Adam and Eve retest structure like so. You could view this one or two ways. You could view it like this, and if so, that's the range break that you could work with. Again, this is the weekly time frame. Let's go to the daily, see what I can get out of this. I like this actually. So you have a good impulse, but honestly, this is just as simple as something like so, covering the liquidity on that. You could probably do it on the lower one. If so, that is a break. You could work with that. This isn't my favorite, I'll be honest with you, because one, I don't like these big breaker push outs like this. Although they can work. Plus the stop is a little bit tight for me considering the criteria. Like we're in a kind of a weird, anything could flash dump like 10-15%, but this looks okay to me, 43% at 4.2R. Not my favorite, but it is something. Now let's go ahead and go to AIOZ. So we have, get rid of all this, I guess. Actually, that's pretty much it. So we have the trend line breakout with this. This one I don't particularly like. I think this is where I probably won't suggest anything, mainly because this looks like it's kind of going with the markets a little bit. It had the big drop down. If you look at this from a 4-hour structure, I mean, you could go for a trend line break like so. It hasn't broken yet. It kind of resisted. If it breaks above this, I think you could probably long this. I think that's pretty good. Other than that, don't really have much suggestion on that. Let's go ahead, and we got four more. We got RSR. That was one that is on my list. And the markets are going really good today. RSR. Speaking of, RSR is up 30% today. So this is one where I mentioned before. The RSR actually is a very common coin on my request charts, and so this is one where I think this went up above and then it came back below, so that kind of was unfortunate. What you should have done is wait for this break above. You could even wait for that like so. Put your stop loss there. Current price action 5R 91%. Now, that's what you could have done. It's easy to say that, right? Now, what about now? Is it okay to long this? Well, the first things first, identify your level. This is where I would identify the weekly level. So if you put your entry there, put your fib block there, and then that's where you'd put your stop loss, somewhere below that mid, and then you target the next level up 63% at 2.4. Now, that's the weekly structure, right? So what do we do about the daily? Does this help? Not really. This is a pretty significant structure on this. If you wanted to get back in, if there's a pullback, I would wait for a break, a touch of this trend line. I think that that's good to go. Or back here at this resistance at 5231. Other than that, I can't really mention anything else because when you get to like lower time frames on big pumps like this, it gets very tricky. I think I will do a dedicated video maybe tomorrow about this to see like how can you actually get in on pullbacks to kind of show what you got. And my ARM trend actually does help with that, so I kind of will mention that also. So RSR is another one. So let's go ahead and go to DYM. I don't think I've covered this one. This is a new coin. And so I don't typically cover new coins for because usually the strategy is just different. The strategy is basically just long it, and it, like if you're bullish on it, then you long it. One thing I do like here automatically is you have a trend line break looking pretty good. I think DYDM is getting some more airdrops, so I think this honestly looks not bad. If you get this zone, there's another zone structure that you could work with. You could long this, put your stop loss. I'd probably put it right below here. Target the top 2.3 R 34%. Probably going to go higher as well because DYDM and the market's pretty much just beginning. So that's looking pretty good. I think I'm going to circle that too. Now, going on to BAT. I have not seen this one in a long time. And so it's a coin that has this structure here. Pretty much got that zone structure like so. Play the breakout of that. I think this actually looks broken out to me, and that's that. I think this is very similar to a lot of other ones. That's kind of where I would look at 135%, 3.6 R. Very basic. The thing is too, like this does look pretty good, but I also want to caution about looking at coins that have been around for so long versus other coins. Like you could, like this is 135%. Like you could make more off of whiff in like 1 week. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, I'm not saying that you shouldn't follow it or nothing like that, but there seems to be a pattern with people sharing older coins versus newer coins. And I just think that's very interesting. Not sure why that is. I don't know if I just tend to have people gravitate to me. Maybe I do that unintentionally. I don't really know. But just something I find interesting. I think it's good to look at a mix of new coins and some old coins. Probably more the performing coins of old, like it's like Chainlink for example is probably an okay coin to follow. But like take there's a coin that I very rarely talk about that used to be one of my favorites is Litecoin. I used to talk about Litecoin all the time, and I'm not sure Litecoin is really doing much anymore. And I think Litecoin is a great example. Like they're not, it was the test net, quote unquote, but look at its performance. It's gone very low, right? And so I think that's a good tell. I think Litecoin is actually a good tell in the markets too, because it topped out on a divergence when it didn't even really get super high, right? And so maybe that's something to watch out for. Like maybe I'll just set an alert for Litecoin. If we go above 400, I know that the market's probably almost done. Who knows? Anyway, so, but it's kind of see what I'm saying. Like Litecoin's pretty much done nothing versus like Nosana. This is a coin that we've talked about in premium. That's gone pretty high, and so I'm shocked that people are not talking about Nosana because it's basically FET on Solana chain. Um, and it's gone higher than WIF token. Okay, and this is kind of what makes me a little bit mad is because I've been focusing on these coins that are higher performing than WIF um, at least for most people. So it's like you guys don't really care about profits. Like you guys, I don't mean you guys, but I'm saying like the majority of Twitter doesn't care about profits. They just care about marketing. They care about a dog with a hat on it. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. Again, I mentioned earlier in this series, like with 1inch, like if you make some money, it's you don't have to worry about making the most amount of money, right? As long as you make some money. So, but at the same time, this has this has done really good. in comparison to the average coin. And I hear nobody discussing it. And this is one that I've discussed um, several times in Premium and on Twitter. So anyway, just something I wanted to mention. And so we got one more token to go. We're gonna get HFT. And so this is, I'm not really sure what we're doing here. Let's see. So this is, I don't like the spotty nature of this, first of all. I think I'll just cover it really quick since this is the last one. But um, I don't like this rejection here. I think it needs to hold above this zone about basically 50 cents. I think if it holds above 50 cents, I think we can look for long opportunities. But I'm not going to mention a position because I think, again, looks a little odd to me versus the rest of the lineup. So not to end the video on a down note, but it happens sometimes. So anyway, that's the request video series. Let me know what you think. Happy to chat more about this in Discord and on Twitter. See you next time.